Hello wine people, welcome to Thirsty and Wines, where we simplify wine. My name is Petar and I'm a wine educator. In this video I will briefly cover all 14 white grape varieties that you need to know for your WSET Level 2 in wines. I will point out the specific information that you should be focusing on while reading the book about these grapes. On this channel we want to simplify wine and wine information, and we want to change the world of wine. We believe that the world of wine should be more simple, easy to understand, and approachable for everybody. If this is something that you are interested in, please consider subscribing and joining us, and let's change the world of wine together. Let's start the video. Okay, wine people, these are the 14 white grape varieties that you need to know for your WSET Level 2 in wines. Riesling, Chenin Blanc, Semillon Blanc, Furmint, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio, Pinot Gris, Gewürztraminer, Viognier, Albarino, Cortese, Garganega, Verdicchio, and Fiano. In this video, I will cover all these 14 grape varieties and I will point out the most important things that you should be focusing on while you are reading your WSET Level 2 in wines study material. What I will not do in this video is I will not cover all the countries and regions for these grape varieties. The reason is I already did that. We made videos on specific white and black grape varieties, and I also made two separate videos for white and black grapes where I show you in an Excel document all the grapes, countries, regions, their appellations, specific labeling terms, and factors affecting style and quality of these wines in their region. So if you did not see those videos, please do, because they have a lot of good information for you. In this video, you're going to see here that some of the grapes are in bold. The reason that they are in bold because these grapes are considered classic. They're not only produced in their own specific countries, but they're produced around the world in different styles, and they're commercially also more available. For example, Cortese you're going to find mostly or only in Italy, where Riesling and Chardonnay you can find in France or in Germany, but you can also find these grapes around the world. Coming back to the question, can I send you this information? Can I send you an Excel sheet with all this information? I can, but then I would take away the time and the effort that you need to put yourself in order for you to develop your learning skills, in order for you to develop your wine knowledge, and in order for you to develop your self-development habits. You need to understand that self-development is something that is the most important thing for you now and for the rest of your life. You need to develop a habit for you to work hard, work smart, put in the time, put in the effort, because there are no shortcuts. Especially, for example, for WSET, if you want to progress to level 3, especially to level 4, you need to understand that there's no shortcuts. You need to put the time and the effort. You need to develop your style of learning. You know yourself best, and you need to understand how you learn and get more understanding from the information that you're reading. For me, I like to do several different things in order for me to retain and to get better understanding. I like to read information first several times. First, I just read the material without focusing on remembering and understanding. Then I read with more specific focus on retaining information and also understanding. I write information, which is most important. I make spreadsheets on Excel to organize information, and then I can, have a bigger picture of similarities, differences, connecting points between grapes and regions. And of course, YouTube is amazing because there's so many great videos where you can see people explaining this. So all this combination of different ways of learning will help you to develop your specific style of learning. So let's start with the first grape variety, with Riesling. In this video and also in other videos, you can actually see how I organize this information. So for example, if you want to make a spreadsheet on a piece of paper or on a computer for these grape varieties, you can just make one column on top for grape varieties, for 14 of them, and then on the left side you can put a specific style of wines, specific viticulture, winemaking for each of the grapes. You can make actually a separate spreadsheet just for the appellations because there's so many of them. Labeling terms and specific region styles and factors. So I'll go in each of the grapes and I'll cover all this information, what is most specific. So if, for example, color for a certain wine is not important, I will not be talking about that. So let's start with Riesling. Riesling is considered a native German grape variety. It's a very versatile grape variety that produces different styles of wine. Let's start with styles. Color-wise, Riesling can be pale lemon in color. It can be deep gold or deep brown in color. It depends on several reasons. First of all, aging. Riesling is a grape that can age for a very, very long time in a bottle. It is one of the grape varieties that has actually the longest aging potential. So if it's a young Riesling, it's going to be pale lemon. If it's a very old Riesling, like 30, 40 years old, it can have medium brown color actually. Acidity is high in Riesling. This acidity helps the wine to make lusciously sweet wines that are perfectly balanced, and also this acidity allows Riesling to age for a very long time. Specific aromas. White grape varieties are divided. They're either neutral in aroma or they're aromatic grape varieties. If they're aromatic, they're more intense in aroma, they're more specific on the aroma, on the nose and on the palate. And if the grape is non-aromatic, then the aromas are more dependent on the level of ripeness, so meaning climate as a factor which is affecting the level of ripeness, and also winemaking techniques like aging on lees or aging in oak or aging in the bottle. And of course, specific aromas are more associated with aromatic grape varieties. Like for example, in the case of Riesling, Riesling has a specific petrol aroma. So if you hear somebody describing a wine smelling like petrol, they're most probably describing Riesling. The aromas of Riesling depend also on the level of ripeness. If it's slightly unripe or just ripe Riesling, is going to have citrus and green and flowery aromas. And then if it's a wine that is overripe, late harvest, affected by botrytis, it will have more riper fruit and specific aroma of botrytis, which reminds of marmalade and honey. Specific to viticulture, has it's very hardy grape, so it means it can survive very cold conditions in the vineyards. That's why it can grow very well in Germany. Also, for example, in New York, where the winters are very cold. Specific winemaking, it doesn't age in oak. I didn't see any examples of Riesling that ages in oak. It's aromatic grape variety that shows best when it's done when it's aged in an inert style. Meaning that it's not really aged in oak. It can age very well. It's usually fermented in stainless steel, or if it's aged, like for example in Alsace, it's aged in a neutral vessel, and then it can age very well in a bottle for a very long time. There are 6 regions that you need to know. 3 of them are in Germany. Australia is also very important. There's 9 labeling terms that you need to know for Riesling, and they all come from Germany. Germany is very intensive for labeling terms that you need to know for German wines. You need to understand which wines are PGI, which are PDO, what are the 6 levels of predicate wines, labeling terms that indicate sweet and dry Riesling. Specific region, styles and factors focus on Germany, different regions, focus on different predicate wines, what they mean, what does it mean to the style, and also in Australia, there's couple of regions that you need to understand what kind of style they produce and what's the difference between Australia, for example, and in Germany. Chenin Blanc, Semillon and Furmint. You're going to see on the region part that it says 231. It means Chenin has 2 important regions that you need to remember. Semillon has 3 and Furmint has 1. Let's start with Chenin Blanc. Chenin Blanc is considered a native French grape variety in Loire region. It also produces a very specific style in South Africa. So the 2 countries that you need to focus on is Loire Valley in France and South African wine. Color-wise, it's also a versatile grape variety like Riesling. Can produce different types and styles of wine. It can produce dry, lusciously sweet wines. It can produce still and sparkling wines. Color will depend on the style. If it's a young, simple Chenin Blanc, it will have pale lemon color. If it's a wine, for example, from South Africa, that is most probably going to be, it can age in oak. It can have more pale to deep gold color. Acidity, it's high in Chenin Blanc. This enables to produce sweet wines or off-dry wines in Loire Valley, and also wines that can age for a long time. Specific aroma, nothing really specific. I mean, there's an aroma of wet wool, how Chenin Blanc is described, but it's very specific, and I would not be focusing on this aroma for level WSET level 2. Something that is more specific aroma-wise is the contrast between a cool, moderate climate like in Loire versus South Africa. So more citrus, green, and then more towards stone and tropical fruit, plus also aged in oak in many cases in Africa. Specific viticulture, nothing really specific that you need to know for level 2. Different levels of ripeness, like I mentioned. Specific winemaking in Loire Valley can produce dry wines, off-dry wines that you need to know for now for level 2, and then it can age on lees and oak in South African wines. Chenin Blanc, like I mentioned, focus on France, South Africa. Labeling terms in France, you're going to find labeling terms indicating if the wine is dry or off-dry, and there's a labeling term in South Africa that could indicate a higher quality wine. Specific regions and styles that you need to focus on is the contrast between French and South African style. Semillon Blanc. Semillon Blanc is considered a French grape variety. It is one of the most important white grape varieties in Bordeaux. You can, when you read about Semillon Blanc, you should also read about Sauvignon Blanc because they're usually they're usually blended in as a wine, especially in Bordeaux or Bordeaux style. Color-wise, nothing really specific. You're gonna find, for example, if it's a Semillon Blanc, you can actually, there's a big color difference between the wines that are made in a dry style, in a simple white wines made by Semillon Blanc, which are going to be pale lemon wines that can age in oak, can be medium lemon to pale gold, and also wines that are made in a buttery style, which are going to be deep gold in color.
Acidity wise has medium acidity, that's why it blends well with Sauvignon Blanc that is high in acidity. Specific aroma, it doesn't really have any specific aromas. Aromas are more dependent on the climate and also on the wine making. A specific viticulture, it is susceptible to botrytis. That's why it is a grape variety that when it's susceptible to botrytis produces Sauterne in France. You need to understand what conditions are necessary for botrytis to develop. Winemaking wise, it can produce different styles of wine. It can produce simple wines, it can produce complex wines that are aged in oak, and it is also a grape variety that can age very well in a bottle for a very long time, which is a difference from Sauvignon Blanc that is really not meant for aging. There is 3 different regions that you need to remember to make a difference between them. It is the Sauterne, Hunter Valley style, and also Barossa Valley style. Labeling terms, nothing really specific, everything is connected with their appellations. And like I mentioned already, specific regions and styles and factors, botrytis wines in Bordeaux, Hunter Valley style, and Barossa Valley style. Oh, sorry again. Furmint is a very specific grape variety used in Hungary for their Asu wines. Everything that color-wise, so when we talk about Furmint for level 2, we talk specifically just about Asu wines, meaning wines that are affected by noble rot. These wines are going to be deep color, deep golden color, high acidity that enables long aging and also balances the luscious sweetness that these wines have. Specific aroma, these wines are very complex, have primary, secondary, and tertiary aromas. They're affected by noble rot. Specific viticulture, again, conditions that are necessary for botrytis development. Wine making, why these wines are sweet. You need to understand these wines are also aged in oak. You need to only to focus on Tokai, specifically Asu. Labeling terms, there are specific labeling terms with Tokai wines. And region, everything is connected to Tokai. Very small region, very specific, but very, very important. Chardonnay. This is, you can see that there's 25 regions that you need to know for Chardonnay. It means that there's a lot of information about Chardonnay in the book. Chardonnay is a neutral grape variety. It means that aromas are depending on the level of ripeness of the grapes and also winemaking techniques used. Chardonnay is in many cases in WSET presented as a grape variety where you can use a lot of wine making techniques and also how different levels of ripeness, how climate affects different levels of ripeness of Chardonnay. Color will depend on the climate. It will depend on the level of ripeness, on the winemaking. Acidity high in cool climate, moderate, medium in a more warmer climate. Specific aromas, like I explained. Viticulture depends on the most important thing that you should be focused on is the level of ripeness. The specific winemaking, you need to know the winemaking techniques that are associated with Chardonnay winemaking. You need to go through all the 25 regions for Chardonnay. If you did not see the video on the white grapes where I show you the Excel sheet, please look at that because this will help you to memorize all these appellations. Labeling terms are all connected to Burgundy. You need to understand the quality hierarchy level in Burgundy, from Bourgogne wines all the way to the Grand Cru wines. Specific region styles and factors, all this is associated with the climate of the regions and also the wine making style. Sauvignon Blanc, it's an aromatic grape variety considered French for Sauvignon Blanc, like I said, read it together with Semillon Blanc. In Bordeaux, they're blended together. Sauvignon Blanc is produces wines that are usually pale lemon or medium lemon in color. It's not really a grape variety that produces its best examples in a warm climate. It's usually produced in a cool climate or in a moderate climate. It's not a grape variety that ages well in oak or in the bottle, but there's examples, specific examples, especially in the United States, where the wine is aged in oak barrels. Acidity is high. Specific aroma, it's aromatic grape variety. It has a specific aroma of pyrazine, which reminds of bell pepper, of grass, and also has specific aromas, especially in New Zealand, that reminds of gooseberries and also on passion fruit. Viticulture wise, it's a grape variety that especially in New Zealand, they mention how different picking times and levels of ripeness affect the final wine. It's a grape variety that enjoys a cool climate, so it retains its aromas. Also in the winemaking, it's a grape variety that enjoys more cooler fermentation temperatures in order to retain its pronounced aromatics. There's 17 regions that you need to remember. Specific labeling terms, not really. Everything is connected to the appellations. Specific region, styles, and factors. It's a very important grape variety, and there's 17 regions that you need to first of all be aware, recognize where Sauvignon Blanc is considered a classic grape. Pinot Grigio or Pinot Gris is the same grape variety but different style, and this is something that is specific to the style and where it's coming from. So if you hear Pinot Grigio, it will be associated with the Italian style, which is more simple, high in acidity, easy, light, simple wine. Where if it's a Pinot Gris, it comes from France, from Alsace, but it can be produced in different countries. But Pinot Gris indicates this French style, which is more riper, fuller, sometimes even off-dry, and complex. Color-wise, I did a video on Pinot Grigio, on Pinot Gris, where I compare two different styles side by side, so they have different color, different acidity, different aromas. Please see the video on that. Specific viticulture, of course, these two styles are totally different, so totally different viticulture for both of them, different winemaking for both styles. There's 4. It's not a grape variety that is that you need to know a lot of regions. There's only 4, but they're very specific. Labeling terms. There's 3 labeling terms that you need to know, and that is connected to Alsace region. It's connected to quality of the wines. And then again, same grape variety, 2 different styles. I did a video on comparing Pinot Gris and Pinot Grigio style side by side. Okay. 3 grape varieties, Gewürztraminer, Viognier, and Albarino. Gewürztraminer and Viognier are considered French, classic French grapes, and they're aromatic. Albarino is a neutral grape variety, and it is one of the most important Spanish white grape varieties. Let's start with Gewürztraminer. Gewürztraminer, color-wise, actually in the vineyard, Gewürztraminer is not colorless. It has gray color. So you can actually make maybe even a rosé style, which is not something that is classic, but could be possible. And also if you have a Gewürztraminer wine, and if you compare it with a just, let's say, Chardonnay, Gewürztraminer, you're gonna see that there is a touch of pink color or gold color, and this comes from the grape, from the skin of the grape. Acidity wise, it's a grape that has medium to low acidity, so this is something that you need to be careful when making Sauvignon Blanc and growing it in a vineyard, so you don't lose the acidity. It can ripe and overripe very quickly and lose acidity as well. Specific aroma, it's a aromatic grape variety. It has specific aroma of rose and lychee. Specific viticulture, acidity is on the lower side, so you need to be careful when growing Gewürztraminer not to get too ripe and lose the acidity and the freshness. Specific winemaking, it's a grape variety that enjoys cooler fermentation temperature. It's not a grape that benefits from oak aging. There's one region that you need to remember for Gewürztraminer. It's the same region as Riesling, and there's also labeling terms same as associated with Riesling for French style. Specific region and style, it's only one region that you need to be focusing on. Viognier, also considered a aromatic French grape variety. Color wise, nothing really specific. It has pale to medium gold color. Acidity is similar to Gewürztraminer. It's on the lower side, medium to low. The specific aroma, it has floral aromas, peach, apricot. Viticulture wise, very important, like with Gewürztraminer, not to get overripe, to lose the aromatics, to lose the acidity, and to be too alcoholic. Winemaking, even though it's aromatic grape variety, there's examples that can age in oak. One region that you need to be focusing on, labeling terms, not really anything specific, everything's connected to the appellation, and then not really anything specific regarding styles. Albarino, one of the most important Spanish white grape varieties. Usually Spain is considered a warm climate. Albarino grows in northwest corner of Spain, which is called Green Spain. It's a neutral grape variety that doesn't really, let's go by style. Color, not really anything specific. Acidity is towards high. Specific aroma, it doesn't really have any specific aroma. It's more associated with the wine making and the climate, so it usually has this citrus, green, apricots, like stone fruit aromas. It is a grape variety that can age well on lees and get additional complexity and texture. Viticulture wise, everything is connected to that cool maritime climate in Spain. One region that you need to remember, and there's no labeling terms that you need to know. Specific region, style, factors, it's one region that you need to be focusing on. Cortese, Garganega, Verdicchio, and Fiano. On the end, we left 4 Italian white grape varieties. Italy is usually famous for its red wines, but it has a lot of great white grape varieties. The biggest challenge, I believe, for students for level 2 is actually remembering this not so classical, well-known Italian white grapes and the regions where they're coming from. So let's start with Cortese. For these grapes, I made a video especially for these 4 grapes where I point out the differences. Cortese, it's always produced in a dry, simple style, meant for early consumption. Garganega can be produced in a dry style, can be produced in a sweet style. Verdicchio, so these 2 grape varieties are not really meant for long aging and aging in oak or in bottle, where Verdicchio is, for example, it can produce simple wines, it can produce also a more intense and complex wines that are aging in bottle. And then Fiano, it comes from the south of Italy, and it's a grape variety that is more riper, fuller, and also can age in oak. There's no specific viticulture that you need to know. Winemaking, like I mentioned now, something that is specific. For Garganega, for all the Cortese, Verdicchio and Fiano, there's one appellation for each of the grapes, and then for Garganega there's 3 appellations that you need to remember. Labeling terms wise, you need to remember, of course, grapes and their appellations. There is a labeling term that you need to know for Garganega in Veneto, and then they have their own specific region styles. A lot of information, a long video, but please connect this video with specific grapes, and also video where I on Excel sheet show you all the grapes, countries, regions and appellations. Happy studying.
Wine people, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope this video was fun and informative to watch and easy to understand. Please let us know if you have any question regarding the 14 white grape varieties that we mentioned in this video. Thank you for your support. Please consider subscribing, sharing, commenting. All this will help us to grow this wine channel and for us to change the world of wine to be more simple, easy to understand and approachable for everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay thirsty and wise.